Welcome to the webinar, GDPR, What Does Print Have to Do with It? My name is Eric Crump from the Follow Me team at Ringdale, and I'm your host for the webinar. Ringdale has been connecting printers and multifunction devices to networks for over 30 years and has a key focus on security with the invention of Follow Me Printing. To date, Follow Me Printing is trusted by the largest organizations in the world, including global banks, government agencies, and national healthcare providers. During this short time, we will cover a brief overview of GDPR, how your print infrastructure could be at risk, and 5 key considerations for your ongoing GDPR strategy. After the session is over, I will provide you information on how you can access a report from IDC focusing on print management technology and GDPR. As this is a recorded session, if you have questions during the presentation, please send these through to the team at followme@ringdale.com. So let's go ahead and get started with a real-life example for GDPR. Last year, an international bank suffered a significant data breach due to printing, and during a police investigation, 3 large copier sheets of paper with 200 bank customers' personal information were discovered. The 3 pages included names, addresses, account balances, and phone numbers. The banking clients had a minimum of $1 million deposited at the bank. Police suspected a bank employee conducted specific searches for personal information to provide it to the criminal group. The police, working with the bank, were able to verify the stolen information corresponded to one specific employee and his database activity at the bank. The police suspected the employee offered information on 3 printed documents to a criminal group in exchange for erasing debt to a group member who was running a loan shark operation. It is thought the criminal group may have researched the wealthy depositors with the aim of targeting them for robberies. The bank and the police only became aware of the stolen information when the data, listed on 3 sheets of paper, was submitted to them by the lawyer of another defendant. Unfortunately, similar breaches of company information happen quite frequently, normally undetected. In fact, in a recent survey from CureCirca, 70% of large organizations are aware of paper document breaches during the last year. So what is GDPR? Hopefully you are already aware of the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. This is a long-coming European Union regulation designed to protect EU residents and their sensitive personal information. Any organization around the world that collects and uses EU resident data is required to comply with the regulation. Penalties for non-conformance are much harsher than previous regulations, but the purpose of GDPR is to avoid breaches, mitigate risk, and protect data rather than impose heavy fines. That being said, organizations that don't take proper measures are subject to an audit. Fines can range up to 4% of global revenue or 20 million euros, whichever amount is higher. In addition, the organizations are susceptible to civil cases with additional financial impact. Although GDPR has been in place since April of 2017, it has been noted by IDC and other analysts that less than 50% of companies will have been ready by the deadline on the 25th of May 2018. GDPR is about protecting the rights of EU residents. Any global company that processes EU resident data is held accountable by the regulation, even if they are not headquartered out of the European Union. Let's quickly discuss the highlights of the regulation. First, GDPR, unlike the existing rules, sets out clearly defined requirements around obtaining consent to collect and use personal data. Requests for consent must be clear and straightforward. It can no longer be hidden in small print, involve pre-tick boxes, and must be separate to other policies on websites or communications. Companies do not own this data, and the public has the right to know how their data is being handled. Second, there are multiple new data privacy rights dictated by the regulation. For example, an EU resident can request how their sensitive personal data is being used by organizations. Also, they can request a copy of the information being used and ask for their data to be deleted, often referred to as the right to be forgotten. Third, in certain situations, organizations need to designate a dedicated data protection officer to oversee the compliance of GDPR. This role is important to review data system plans and ensure action items are being covered for compliance and being developed. GDPR is not a one-time event and must be continually reviewed whenever processes are added or changed. Organizations need to conduct ongoing assessments known as data protection impact assessments for high impact and new data processes. Fourth and finally, organizations need to ensure that all their business processes that utilize personal data are secure and meet the data privacy requirements, both digital and paper-based processes. And in fact, a recent report confirmed that more than 90% of organizations depend on paper-based processes. So this is definitely a key area not to overlook. So what does printing have to do with GDPR and data privacy? As mentioned previously, printing continues to be an important process within many organizations, and the fact that printing is normally an unmonitored activity, the potential for data breaches is high. In order to protect your organization against security breaches and support GDPR compliance, we have identified 5 key areas for consideration. Let's go ahead and get started with the top 5 considerations. Consideration number 1, data privacy by design. Under the GDPR's data privacy by design, organizations need to consider privacy throughout all processes or applications that involve personal data. Authorities will be looking for evidence that measures are in place to mitigate against data loss risks, and this includes organizations' print processes. Make sure to consider the digital and paper flows of information. Review how staff from the head office to branch offices access sensitive personal data. Once you've defined the high-risk areas, make sure to develop compliance documentation for the IT and compliance teams. Ensure it is easy to access and is held along with additional supporting resources. Consideration number 2, restrict access. Once you know who has access to sensitive personal data, define restricted user profiles by role or department. An effective solution should be considered to ensure only authorized personnel can access and subsequently print sensitive data. This is particularly important in those business areas that have the greatest potential risk due to the data they handle. These areas include sales, human resources, and executive management. To protect data privacy in the print environment, organizations should consider an established, secure print solution that offers a wide range of authentication options such as a PIN code, corporate directory credentials, or an ID badge to support authorization to use printers and MFPs. Consideration number 3, prevent paper breaches. As we discussed before, at least 70% of organizations have encountered a security breach due to printing. Within your print environment, the 3 top high-risk areas for the network and for printing include: number 1, open access to devices; number 2, sensitive data left in output trays; and number 3, unsecured network connections. At a minimum, organizations should consider a secure print solution. This eliminates a majority of risk of shared printing devices. It also stops the potential for print jobs from being inadvertently taken. Going a bit further, organizations can monitor the content being printed to prevent sensitive information from being printed. Information like credit card numbers and account numbers can be identified in real time, and preventative actions can be triggered to stop a potential data breach. Print jobs can also be labeled with watermarks to identify who printed sensitive documents, providing a way to track paper documents. Traceable watermarks with the username, timestamp, the printer IP address, and other identifiable information are possible. Consideration number 4, data encryption. GDPR does not mention many technology specifications, but one of the only technologies specified is data encryption. Protecting documents in motion from the PC to the printer or at rest on shared network servers should be a consideration, even within a closed network environment. An additional precaution recommended by the regulation is data anonymization. This method of data protection allows specific fields to be masked in online reporting. Usually, access to reporting is restricted, but additional protection should be considered to automatically anonymize or mask sensitive reporting fields, including the name of print jobs and the end user's name. Consideration number 5, activity tracking. Previously, we discussed the bank breach case, and due to activity tracking of the business systems, the bank was able to pinpoint the alleged thief after the breach. It's important to note that with GDPR, organizations are required to notify the relevant authorities and affected persons within 72 hours of knowing about the breach. Make sure you have the necessary activity tracking and reporting in place to support your organization's compliance and investigation procedures and to meet the 72-hour guideline. The compliance or IT personnel should have a system in place that automatically alerts them of a potential breach in real time. This needs to include detailed information about the suspect activity, often including a digital copy of the print job for further review. Complete and accurate reporting should also match the internal compliance controls to allow administrators to identify and analyze risk quickly. Compliance reporting should also drill down to specific user groups, applications, and other necessary parameters. In a short time, we've identified 5 areas to review in your data privacy inventory for printing. Again, with over 90% of companies claiming print is important, this is an area that should not be overlooked. At a minimum, organizations should consider an established, secure print solution to eliminate the majority of the risk discussed. When considering a print management solution for your GDPR strategy, you need to consider the following. Is the solution capable of providing full functionality across a broad range of printer and MFP fleets? Does it offer a wide range of authentication and authorization capabilities for head office, branch office, and mobile users? Can it provide your organization with the ability to monitor the content being printed to prevent sensitive information from being distributed? Does it offer the facility for auditing and reporting in order to respond immediately for potential data breaches? And does it support data privacy compliance with encryption as a foundational component of the solution? Thank you very much for your time today. This concludes our webinar, but we want to make sure to give you that additional resource we talked about earlier today so that you can download the IDC Spotlight Report focusing on GDPR and print management, and it's available on our website at followme.ringdale.com. The report can help you and your team to analyze your digital and paper processes to find the potential opportunities to work more securely with sensitive personal information of your staff and customers. Thank you for your attention and time. Please reach out to the Follow Me team for more discussion. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at followme@ringdale.com. Thank you.